In this video, I'm making one of my favorite dishes, but with a slight twist. And I think I might actually elevate it, but not sure. We'll find out. So I'm making shrimp fried rice inspired by the Din Tai Fung recipe, except I'm adding rack of lamb. So lamb is a pretty bold flavor and it's not too common across Asian dishes. I know there is like the cumin lamb skewers that's pretty popular, but it's not incredibly common and especially not paired with a protein like shrimp. Normally, I wouldn't even expect this to work, but I was recently reading a book called The Flavor Matrix, where the authors James Briscione and his wife Brooke Parkhurst wrote a book that essentially indexes 150 different common ingredients and breaks them down to their fundamental flavors and aromatic compounds, and then ranks how closely each of these ingredients might pair together based on their objective kind of chemistry. So going through this book, I discovered a ton of pairings that you would never think go together. So something like blueberry and horseradish, which I have a video for coming soon, strawberry and mushroom, and so on. And so you can see where this is going. Apparently, a lot of seafood goes well together with lamb. And in the book, James pairs shrimp and lamb together in a gumbo. And so that immediately gave me the idea for this video. I grew up loving shrimp fried rice. In fact, I grew up loving all fried rices. And anytime my parents would take me to a restaurant and they had it on the menu, I'd beg my parents to order it, and of course they would order it for me. So I'm a huge fan of fried rice, and I'm especially a fan of Din Tai Fung's shrimp fried rice recipe. And so I know at Din Tai Fung, one of their most popular fried rices is the pork chop fried rice. Just their normal fried rice with scallion topped with a pork chop. I was thinking instead of pork chop, what if we used a rack of lamb and then sat on top of a shrimp fried rice? And so that's the concept for this video. I don't fully know if it's gonna work, but I know the two separately taste really good. So rack of lamb tastes good, and then shrimp fried rice tastes really good. So at worst, it can't be that bad, right? But we'll find out, so let's start cooking. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over all the ingredients we'll need for the fried rice and the lamb. So first we have rice. I'm using medium grain rice, but if you want to get as close as you can to the Din Tai Fung recipe, they use a short grain rice. Other than that, not super critical, feel free to use your preferred rice. Next we'll need about a half a pound of shrimp. You can use any shrimp you like, but just make sure that they're thawed. I'll explain what the shrimp is soaking in a little bit. We've got some baking soda and white sugar, then we have eggs and scallion. These two ingredients are the foundation for our fried rice. Some good old light soy sauce and white pepper powder. This one's optional, not the end of the world if you don't have it. Now this last ingredient, chicken bouillon powder, is very critical and is essentially the secret ingredient that's gonna take your fried rice game to the Din Tai Fung level. Trust me on this one, don't skip on this. If you don't have the powder, you could also use bouillon paste. This brand works for me too. Next we have the ingredients for the lamb, which is incredibly simple. We just have rosemary and garlic to marinate the lamb. And of course, we have a rack of lamb, which I've already prepared. I will explain the marination steps in a bit. So there's some prep involved for both the fried rice and the lamb. You can do the steps in this section the day before. First things first is preparing the rice. Now, I'm pretty sure you know how to make rice, so instead of telling you how to do that, I'll give you some fried rice tips. The typical guidance for fried rice is to use day-old rice. And this is because of two characteristics, moisture and texture. Fresh made rice is soft and has tons of moisture as it comes straight out of the pot or pressure cooker. So when you use it immediately for fried rice, it may come out soggy, and at worst, the rice is mush. And for those of us who have made lots of fried rice, I'm sure we've all been there. Now, I'm not gonna gatekeep fried rice and say you must have day-old rice, because maybe you forgot or maybe you're in a hurry. There are methods to improve your outcome if you must use fresh rice. 1. Make sure you nail the water ratio perfectly so your rice comes out on the drier side. And 2, after the rice is done cooking, you can take your rice out of the rice cooker and spread it across a plate to help it dry and cool down. So yeah, having day-old rice is preferable, but if not, I hope these tips help. So up next is the rack of lamb prep. We basically just want to let the lamb marinate overnight in the fridge. For the marinade, I'm just using rosemary and garlic. Very simple. If there are other herbs and spices you want to add, feel free to do so. For the rosemary, just pull off the leaves and give it a fine chop. Same with the garlic, give it a nice mince. So after you chop all the ingredients, pull the rack of lamb out and start seasoning both sides generously with salt and pepper. Then apply the rosemary and garlic and rub that in until the lamb is fully covered. After applying the rub, get a Ziploc bag to contain the lamb and pour in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. If you have a vacuum sealed bag, do use that. It'll help more deeply infuse the marinade into the lamb. I didn't have one handy, so I used Ziploc. After you've packaged the lamb, place it in the fridge to sit overnight. So on the next day, you can check on your rice and it should be chilled and pretty firm, which is what we want. You'll probably need to break it a little to make it easier to get out later. And now we'll get the rest of our ingredients ready for cooking. In this step, we're going to devein our shrimp. So just get a paring knife and lightly run it down the back of the shrimp. Then you can see the digestive tract and pull out the gunk. If you're in a rush or just don't want Din Tai Fung quality, I'd say this step is optional, also if you don't mind eating shrimp poo. But deveining also helps with aesthetics. The open back of the shrimp will look more pleasing when we go to saute them later. So again, deveining is optional. Next, get a bowl and fill it up with about 2 cups of water, enough to cover the shrimp. Throw in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Toss the shrimp in and then add some ice. Keep the shrimps chilled for about 30 minutes. What does this do? This is a brine and helps ensure that when we cook the shrimp, it'll turn out plump and succulent. This step does make a noticeable difference, so I'd recommend doing this again to get closer to the Din Tai Fung quality. After chilling, take the shrimps out of the bath and pat dry with paper towels to remove excess water. The dryness will help us get a nice sear when we go to saute. Now for the main fried rice ingredients. Chop up some green onions. I use a lot here because I love green onion, but let's just say about 6 for a normal amount. Then crack 6 eggs and whisk until mostly scrambled. So to make best use of our time, we're going to put the lamb in the oven while we cook the fried rice. So take your lamb out of the fridge, and ideally you should let your lamb come down to room temperature so it can cook more evenly. So set it out for about 30 minutes. Now all we're going to do is score the fat to help the lamb get a crispier edge. So just make light cuts at an angle and then another set of cuts on the opposite side. Sprinkle another coat of salt and pepper and then place the lamb on a roasting pan. Cover the bones with a sheet of tinfoil to prevent the bones from burning while we're cooking in the oven, then lay some sheets of tinfoil under the lamb. Throw the lamb into the oven at 450 degrees, and we're going to cook this for about 10 minutes to brown it, and then reduce the temperature afterwards to let it finish. Now we can get to cooking our Din Tai Fung shrimp fried rice. So start by adding about 1 to 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil to a hot pan. I'm using a carbon steel wok for this. After the oil starts smoking a bit, start putting in your shrimps. So these will cook fairly quickly, about 1 minute on each side. After a quick sear, take them out and set them aside for later. We'll be putting these back into the fried rice at the end. Now we add a bit more oil back into the pan and throw in our 6 lightly mixed eggs. So we don't want to cook these all the way through, you want to cook them almost all the way where the egg is still a tad runny. And at that point, you can throw in about 3 to 4 cups of your cooked rice. The reason why we want the eggs slightly runny is because we want it to stick onto the rice to help give that nice yellow color. So after incorporating the eggs in the rice and letting the rice fry for about a minute, put in a tablespoon of your light soy sauce and 1.5 teaspoons of the chicken bouillon powder. Now stir fry the rice for about another minute and then throw in our green onion, both the greens and the whites. Cook this for a little longer until fragrant and then add a few dashes of white pepper. And now lastly, we throw back in the shrimps that we set aside to finish our dish. Stir some more and now let's give it a taste. Literally tastes like the Din Tai Fung fried rice. It's so good. Our fried rice is ready now. So now we can check it on our lamb. After the 10 minutes at 450, we can now reduce the heat to 300 and cook it for about another 10 minutes or until the internal temperature of the lamb gets to about 135 degrees for medium rare. When that's ready, take it out of the oven, cover it in tin foil and let it rest for about another 10 minutes. After that, you can start cutting the lamb to serve. Oh, it's perfect medium rare. So I wanted to plate it cutely with this upside down bowl trick, and after trying a few different bowls, I think I got it. Anyway, let's go in for our final taste test to see if lamb and shrimp do work together in this combination. We get to see if this pairing works at all together. Lamb and shrimp fried rice. So I already tasted the fried rice, I know it's good. The lamb is good. Lamb is really good. I mean, lamb and fried rice, all right. What about lamb and shrimp? You know, honestly, I feel like it'd be cool if they serve this at Din Tai Fung. I think it works. I can see maybe why it works with the shrimp. When you have good quality shrimp or good quality seafood, it has this natural sweetness. I can see why that pairs really well with the lamb, which is kind of fatty and salty. I think it works. So I think it'd be really cool if a Chinese restaurant that had fried rice served lamb and shrimp fried rice together. In a way, I think it's cool because it's like an Asian surf and turf. There are many reasons why I think you can make this combination work on paper. But yeah, feel free to give this recipe or give this combination a try. Is this weird? Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.